My fiancé forgot to end the call, and I overheard a heartbreaking conversation with his family that changed everything before our wedding. I, 26 female, was supposed to get married last week, but it didn't happen because I ran away the night before my wedding. I was engaged to my boyfriend, 26 male, for 6 months, and we've been in a relationship for 3 years. My now ex-boyfriend and I have 2 kids together as well, twin boys aged 1. We didn't plan to have them, and my boyfriend was very against me having our kids in the first place. But I was very stubborn, and I told him that I'd be having them with or without him. I'd given him the option to leave, and I didn't even demand child support from him. I believe that I'm capable of raising my babies on my own, no matter what, but I'd always had a very strong maternal instinct, and for me, the timing just felt right. I was ready to be a mom, but he needed some time to come around. That's what he told me when I said that I was going to break up with him if he kept trying to push me into not having the baby. Only then did he seem to come around. He'd been a good partner throughout the pregnancy and a good father after their birth. We hadn't expected twins, and I'll admit I might not have been able to manage that by myself, so I think I was lucky that he stuck by. After my sons were born, he'd done everything that a father does, and 6 months later he proposed to me, and I said yes. It was as if that whole episode where he demanded that I get rid of the babies never happened in the first place. He was that good. I think pregnancy had made me soften up as well, so all was forgiven, and I was ready to marry him. After all, we'd already been together for 3 years in a pregnancy, so I believed that this was the right time. For months, we planned, and I was really happy. My parents were also thrilled because they also like my ex a lot. He was just the perfect guy. But then, one night before the wedding, it was all ruined. I still can't believe that one phone call ruined a 3-year relationship, but I guess it saved me from entering what was bound to be an awful marriage. The day before our wedding, my ex and I were staying in separate places, as is customary. I was living in our house, while he'd moved to his family's place, which was just a couple of blocks away. After dinner, he called me to remind me that he loved me and that he couldn't wait to marry me, and that got me really emotional. We had a moment while we were on call, and then we said our goodbyes, and I waited for him to hang up. Fortunately, or unfortunately, he forgot to hang up. I think he must have not clicked the screen hard enough, which is a common habit of his. I stayed on the line as well, because I'd heard his father speak to him, and just out of curiosity, I decided to eavesdrop on their conversation, because his dad had just asked my ex if he was talking to me. While saying yes to his dad, my ex sounded really dejected and distant, and I could sense that something was off. The conversation that happened next still plays in my head on a loop, even though a whole week has passed. His dad then asked him if he still felt the same way as he did 2 days ago, and he said yes. Then his mother joined the conversation as well and told him that no matter how he felt, he needed to go through with the wedding. My boyfriend seemed to flare up a little and told them that he would do whatever he wanted to and they couldn't push him around like this, to which his dad replied, saying that they couldn't force him to marry someone he didn't love, but they could cut him out of their will, so the choice was his. His mother then proceeded to lecture him about how now that he was a father, he needed to grow up and be responsible. It was bad enough that he'd had kids before marriage, but he could still save the situation by getting married instead of continuing to postpone it because he didn't feel ready. If he was ready to have kids, he was ready to get married and commit. That's what his mother said, and his dad agreed. My ex started talking about how this wasn't fair because he was literally being coerced into marrying me, even though he was far from ready, just so that he wouldn't be cut out of their will. He told them they were being very unfair and started complaining about how nobody in his life ever seems to care about whether he's ready for milestones or not. And he always ends up having to deal with stuff he's not prepared for. I didn't care whether he was ready to be a father or not, and neither did his parents, who forced him to stay with me in spite of the fact that the idea of kids terrified him. And now they were even pressuring him into getting married, although he still didn't feel ready. He complained about how unfair we were all being to him, and then I guess he stormed out and left his phone in the room. His parents continued to discuss how irresponsible their son was being, and that's when I hung up. I was stunned and didn't have any idea what to do next. My boyfriend had only agreed to marry me and stay with me because his parents had threatened to cut him out of their will. That was definitely something I wanted to learn the night before we were supposed to get married. I couldn't even make sense of it for the next couple of minutes. Nothing about his behavior could have told me that he wasn't ready. Yes, we did have that argument when I found out I was pregnant initially, but after that he'd always been a good boyfriend and father, so I literally had no idea that these were his true feelings. He definitely was a fabulous actor, I have to give him that. Once I managed to pull myself together, I decided to make a run for it. Thankfully, my kids were with me, and so I got into my car and drove to a hotel a little out of town. It was kind of late by the time I got there, and my kids were getting fussy, so I put them back to sleep, blocked my boyfriend and his family without any explanation, and that was it. I cried the entire night, now that I knew that this past year had been nothing but a huge lie, and then finally I fell asleep at around 4 in the morning. The wedding venue and everything else had been covered by my ex's parents, but they were loaded, so I didn't worry about the money that was being wasted. After all, this was all their idea, so the three of them could suffer the consequences. I was out of there. Before I had gone to sleep, I texted all my friends and family that the wedding was off, and I'd explain everything later and didn't give out any other details. I knew that they'd be a no-show at the wedding as well because I'd made it very clear that I didn't want them to go anywhere near my ex or his family, and didn't want them to reach out to them or respond to them either. And I trusted my people, so I knew they'd do what I asked them to without questioning it. I spent the day that I was supposed to get married in the hotel itself, eating away my feelings and playing with my son, since they were the only people I wanted around me at that time. I was devastated and heartbroken, but I had to put up a strong front for their sake, so that's what I did. After a day off, I decided to go back home to collect my things and move out of that house. I dropped my kids off at my parents' place before that, and when I finally showed up a day later, my ex reacted just the way I'd expected him to. He looked like he hadn't slept and seemed very panicky and concerned, and I still don't know how much of it was genuine and how much of it was an act. He asked me where I'd been and told me that he'd been worried sick about me. Without waiting for me to say anything, he then launched into his story about how he and his family had waited for hours the day before. He said that whatever I'd done was just unacceptable, and that I owed them all an explanation and a public apology, since cold feet were not an excuse to humiliate him and his family this way. I didn't say much. I just told him that I'd overheard the conversation that he'd had with his parents the other day. He looked confused for a few seconds, and then when he finally realized what I was referring to, he had the good sense to look ashamed. I didn't bother to explain or even talk to him. After I said that, I went into the house, while he waited out in the yard, collected the essentials, and left without another word. I had nothing to say to him. Honestly, he did what he felt was right, and now I was doing what I thought was right. I wasn't even interested in being a wife anymore. I just wanted to be a mother now, and a good one. That was almost a week ago, and we didn't speak after that, so I thought that this was the end for us. I had nothing to say to him, and he didn't either. That's what I'd thought, but a few hours ago, he showed up at my parents' place, begging to speak to me. By now, I've obviously told my parents what had happened, and all my close friends know as well, so they were skeptical to let him in. But I agreed to speak to him one last time. I didn't want to let him in case we ended up fighting and screaming at each other because the babies had just fallen asleep, and I didn't want to wake them up. So we talked in the front yard itself. He apologized to me for everything that he put me through and told me that he really does love me, even though he doesn't feel ready to marry me yet. He also said that he loves the kids as well, and in spite of everything that he said that night, he still wants to be a part of our lives. I didn't know what to say to that, or even if I could trust him since he'd been lying to me and putting up such an act for almost a year. So it was natural for me to have my doubts, but I said that I would think about what we should do next. He doesn't want to break up yet, but still wants to work things out and give us a second shot without the interference of his parents, is what he said. I honestly don't know what to say to him. I would like my kids to have a relationship with their dad growing up, but I just can't trust him right now. As for myself, I really could do with a break because this week has been crazy and not in a good way. So, what if I decide not to give our relationship a second chance? Update 1. Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but I've been very busy with work and kids and moving out, so I haven't had the time to update you all. The support that has been poured in has been overwhelming, and I truly am grateful that so many people have shown me such love. I really am so very thankful for all the advice that I've received since it's all been of great help to me. Yes, I've spoken to a lawyer regarding the custody arrangement. I want full custody of my kids because I've decided that I don't want to get back with my ex. Some people started sending me hateful messages and accusing me of being a selfish mother, just for considering getting back with him, which was stupid and judgmental. I'm a mother, but I'm also a human being, and only a week has passed since that night of the phone call, so of course I hadn't fully moved on. It was a 3-year relationship, for the love of God. I was very emotional, and I really did love him, which is why my emotions got the better of me, and I considered getting back with him. I'm feeling a lot more stable now, so I know that no matter how I feel about the situation, I have to put myself and my kids first now, so I can't get back with him. There was just no need for all that hate and judgment in the first place, but it's the internet, so I should have seen it coming, I guess. And I started looking for a lawyer 2 days after I called off my wedding. It just took me a while to find someone that I was comfortable with and trusted fully. My ex and I had never spoken about custody and stuff like that because we'd never thought that such a day would even come, but now that we're done, I think it's time to take legal steps to ensure that nobody can take my kids away from me. I'm sure that he wouldn't even want to, but I'm not sure about his parents. They're very conservative and kind of orthodox when it comes to stuff like this, so I'm certain they wouldn't appreciate their son not having custody of their grandchildren and will do everything in their power to stop it. I'm just preparing myself. I last spoke to my ex around 3 days ago, and we haven't been in touch since then, which just proves that no matter what he says, he's not ready to be with me and isn't willing to change. Whatever he said the other day about wanting to make things work was hollow and meaningless, because otherwise he would have at least checked up on me once, which he hasn't. So I know I'm making the right decision by not getting back with him. And honestly, there's just no trust between us anymore, and I'm not going to be with a man who doesn't want to be with me. This is for the best. I'm going to tell him my decision soon, and I just hope that he doesn't get mad about the custody arrangement, because that's the last thing I need on my plate right now. Update 2, I finally told my ex that I don't want to get back with him and also said I'm going to file for full custody just to give him a heads up. I'd expected him to be all right with it because as far as I knew, he confessed already that he wasn't ready for marriage or kids. So he should have felt grateful that I wasn't forcing him into something that he didn't feel prepared for. But he didn't take it well at all and instead started arguing with me and told me that I couldn't do this to him. He said that I could break up with him if I wanted to, but I couldn't take his kids away from him. Now, that would have made sense if we had a normal relationship, but that's not the case, as you guys already know. My ex didn't want kids in the first place. Even up until a week ago, he wasn't ready to be a father, but all of a sudden, he was fighting for his kids' custody. I just knew that there must be something fishy, and his parents are probably still trying to control him. He was totally panicking while I was arguing, and I was trying to calm him down because we were meeting at a restaurant, and I was getting really embarrassed about the scene that he was causing. After a while, he finally calmed down a little, and I tried to have a rational conversation with him because at this point, I just couldn't afford a drawn-out custody battle. I didn't have the money for that, and I absolutely didn't have the energy for it. I knew his parents would be able to afford the best damn lawyers as well, so even if I had the upper hand morally, they still could manage to drag it out, so my best bet was to reason with him and just hope that he doesn't fight this. I tried to tell him that he'd been saying that he wasn't ready for kids up until a week ago, so this was the right way forward for all of us. I take care of the kids, which is what I wanted anyway, and he was free to live his life the way he wanted to, unburdened by marriage or kids. I thought that's what he wanted anyway, so this was the only solution, but he said that he changed his mind, and now he felt ready to be a father. It just didn't add up in my opinion, and when he said that he was ready now, it just confirmed that there was definitely something fishy happening. If he hadn't felt ready to be a dad in 1 whole year, then there was no way he changed his mind in just a week. So I asked him if there was something that he wasn't telling me, and he admitted that the reason he was fighting so hard was because of what his parents had said. Surprise, surprise. After the wedding was called off and I told him that I knew everything, he told his parents about this, and they told him to try and make things right with me immediately, which is why he approached me a week later. They said that they'd accepted that I wouldn't marry him since that was out of their control now, but they absolutely wouldn't let him lose custody of their grandkids. Once again, they'd threatened to cut him off if he didn't manage to convince me to go ahead with the joint custody arrangement. He was practically begging me by then to agree to have joint custody of the kids, but I was so disgusted that I just left. I couldn't believe that once again he was dancing to his parents' tune. Even though I'd given him an easy out, he didn't want to be a father, he didn't want to commit to me, but what he did want was his parents' money, which is why he was going to such lengths. If that's all he cared about, then I didn't want him anywhere near our kids. They deserve better. I didn't even want child support because I just didn't want him near or having anything to do with me or my kids anymore. He clearly didn't have a spine and was willing to do anything it took just so that his parents wouldn't cut him out of their lives, and that was just so pathetic. It's been a few days since then, and I've blocked him everywhere once again because I don't even want to talk to him or see him. The last message he'd sent me was suggesting that we go ahead with a joint custody agreement, and he'd split his inheritance with me once his parents passed away. I can't believe that he's seriously suggesting this crap just for the sake of it. I guess this is what I get for falling for a spoiled brat in the first place. I'm a self-made woman, and I've worked my way up without anyone's help. Sure, my parents educated me, but we weren't very rich, so I had to rely on scholarships to pay for college, which meant that I had to work really hard for everything that I have now. As for my ex, well, he was the only son of uber-rich parents. I don't think I need to say anything else. You guys know what kind of person I'm talking about. I thought that he changed once he started dating me, and he truly made me believe that he had, but I was wrong. He really is a brilliant actor because he had me fooled for a good 3 years, but now I can finally see him for what he truly is, and I don't want to stick around to find out more about him. I'm done, and I'm fine with raising my kids on my own. No father is better than one who doesn't even want to be a father. Now I'm 100% sure that I did the right thing, and I hope that he comes to his senses and terminates his parental rights instead of turning this into a long custody battle. I'll keep praying. Update 3. Hey there, I'm here to finally share some good news with you guys. I know it's been a really long while since the last update, but I've been very busy. First things first, my babies and I have moved into a much smaller apartment, but at least I can call it mine. Unlike the house that my ex and I used to live in, this place is near my parents' house as well, so they can come over from time to keep an eye on the kids. I've also hired a full-time nanny to help me out because I can't stop working, obviously. I'm incredibly lucky that I can even afford that right now. My parents are obviously helping me out with the finances, and I'm so grateful for it. I know they didn't see this coming, and neither did I, but they're doing their best. And I'm really glad that I have such loving and supportive parents. Coming to the part that I know people are most interested in, my ex. So, yeah, he signed away his parental rights. I don't know what came over him and what changed, but my best guess is that he decided to finally stand up to his parents. Or maybe his parents just gave up. One of my friends told me that he's moved out of the house he used to live in, so I'm guessing it's the former. He apologized to me a few days back once more and said that he wanted to give me money as compensation, but I wasn't about to take money from my ex-boyfriend. I know a lot of you are going to say that this was a stupid move, but I don't really care. I wasn't kidding when I said that I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. I forgave him, but that doesn't mean that I have to accept any form of compensation from him. I just wanted to move on, and my parents and I are perfectly capable of raising my kids without his help. So I texted him back saying that it was all right, but I'd appreciate it if he didn't contact me anymore, and he's respected that so far. Right now I'm only focused on my kids and giving them the best life that I possibly can. I have no time to be sad or angry at my ex anymore, and I just want to be a good mother to my kids. That's it.